Hello, I'm Mike Wilson, and welcome to Comcast Newsmakers from the Indiana State House in downtown Indianapolis. Officials and lawmakers from across the state are joining us throughout this year's legislative session for discussions on a pretty broad range of important topics. And joining me right now, Representative Earl Harris, Jr. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
So tell me a little bit about workforce development as it pertains to your area, because we've heard a lot of broad discussion about workforce development and perhaps a skills gap that needs to be met. But what are you seeing in your area that you can say definitively, this is it and this is how we need to bridge that gap?
Yeah, you're correct. We have a workforce development, I hate to use the word issue or problem in Indiana as a whole, but in my area we have it there. There's actually a lot of opportunity for people in terms of well-paying careers. A perfect example is we have ArcelorMittal, which is a steel company in East Chicago where I live. 50% of their workforce can retire. I've had different conversations and meetings with Arcelor. That's a little scary if you're Arcelor. You don't want 50% of your people to be able to walk out the door without anyone to replace them. So there's actually a program called Steelworkers for the Future, which the steel company partners with Ivy Tech, so 2.5 years of education, and you can be ready to walk into Arcelor, trained, skilled, and ready to go. The other wonderful part of that is you're talking about a median salary of $95,000, and that's without a 4-year degree. So when you talk about high-paying career without walking out with a lot of college debt without it taking very long, that's a great position to be in. So I've had a lot of conversations with churches, community groups, et cetera, and that's only one of the examples, there's others, but to let them know that there's a lot of opportunity for either young people that are in high school that know they don't want to do 4 years of college, or even, as I've talked to Arcelor, even if it's people who are looking for a second career. 2.5 years at Ivy Tech is not that long.
So let's talk a little bit about once the student finds that job, what about the employer's responsibility to train an employee to not just do the same job and stay in the same job? I mean, there are probably employees in different places across the state that have been working the same function for a long time, depending on the shop and how the employer feels about workforce development. But there's a lot to say about cultivating employees in that current position to grow within that company.
Correct. Technology has really changed everything. And so when you talk about growing, advancing, changing, it's really about learning technology and learning new things about technology you can do. The steel industry is one of those industries that has been drastically affected and changed by this. So, I'm a big believer in lifelong learning. You get your career started, you work in your career, but you don't stop growing. So there's continuing education. And I think, if you're looking at, if you get in, say at an Arcelor or some other company, and you want to advance, you have to continue to grow your skill set. Otherwise, how are you going to advance? So seeing a lot of companies and industries that are really strongly involved in training up, skilling up their people is a great thing.
So it's sort of one of those it takes a village mentalities to say, okay, we've got to have the K through 12 component. We have to have the higher education component, whether that's 2, 4, 8 years of school, whatever it ends up being.
Correct.
And then you've got the career, encouragement to grow within that company. So that together is probably going to form what ends up being the workforce development picture.
It is, and I think one of the things, as I've had conversations with industries as well as our educators, some of it also is helping young people understand, there are some careers that people are, oh, you don't want to do that because it doesn't pay well. Well, the reality is a lot of those careers people don't think pay well, actually pay well. I mean, when I got in, started working on this a year plus ago, I didn't realize the median salary for Arcelor was $95,000. I mean, that's a great median salary living in Northwest Indiana. So it's getting past that and helping people understand there's so much opportunity out there, and we know that not all of our young people want to go to get a 4-year degree, and that's okay. There are other ways to get high-paying careers, have a great life, and not have to spend 4 years and get into college debt.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was shedding a lot of light on that subject. Appreciate it.
Appreciate the opportunity.
And for more great conversations with leaders in our community, please visit ComcastNewsmakers.com.